Hello, my name is Corey. Could you tell me your full name, please?
My full name is Mika Kondo.
Thank you. Now let's begin. In this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about friends. How often do you see your friends?
During the week, I'd say not very often. We're all quite busy with work, but I usually try to catch up with at least one friend on the weekend, maybe for coffee or lunch or something. I think it's important to make that time.
That sounds nice. What do you and your friends usually do together?
It depends, really. Sometimes we just hang out and chat, about work or life. Other times we might go to an exhibition or see a film. Last weekend, actually, we went to a new ramen place that opened nearby, which was fun. Trying new food is always a good option.
And do you prefer having a few close friends or a large group of friends?
I definitely prefer having a few close friends. I feel like you can really build deeper connections and support each other more that way. Large groups can be fun for parties, but I value those warmer one-on-one relationships. I suppose it's about quality over quantity for me.
Let's switch gears and talk about cars. Do you enjoy driving?
Actually, not really. I live in Tokyo, so the public transport is amazing. I usually just use trains or buses. Driving in the city can be quite stressful, and it's so expensive to park. I'm happy to have other options, I guess.
That makes sense. Do you think people rely too much on cars these days?
I suppose it depends where you live. In big cities, I don't think it's so bad, but in smaller towns or rural areas, people do seem to depend a lot on their cars to get around because there aren't many other public options. It would be great if public transport was better everywhere, to give people more choice.
Now let's shift topics to collecting things. Do you collect anything?
Not really, no. I tend to try to keep things minimal, just because I live in Tokyo and space is limited. My parents, though, they collect little ceramic figures from different places they visit around Japan. It's quite sweet, I suppose. It reminds them of their travels.
That does sound sweet. Why do you think people collect things?
Well, I think for many people it's about creating memories or holding on to things that have a personal meaning, like my parents. For others, it might be about history or the aesthetic value. There's also that kind of thrill of finding the perfect piece, I imagine. It gives them a sense of accomplishment, I suppose.
What kinds of things do you think people might collect in the future?
Well, digital collecting is growing fast, so maybe more NFTs or unique digital art, perhaps. But on the other hand, I think people might value vintage physical things more, just because everything becomes more digital. Little handmade objects or traditional crafts might become more precious. Even things like museum audio guides might be considered retro and collectible, maybe.
Now we move on to part two. I'll give you a topic to talk about for 1 to 2 minutes. You'll have 1 minute to prepare first. Ready?
Yes, I understand.
Great. Here's your topic. Describe a time when you were stuck in a traffic jam. You now have 1 minute to prepare. I'll tell you when to start. Start speaking now.
Oh, goodness. Yes, I remember this day clearly. It was actually a couple of months ago. We were driving back from a museum tour in the countryside, and we got completely stuck in a massive traffic jam on the highway. My friend was driving, and we were on our way back to Tokyo. The traffic just stopped, absolutely still, because of a big accident further ahead. It felt like we were stuck there for hours, just inching along now and then. We tried listening to music, and then we just talked about the museum. There was this one moment where we saw a child in the car next to us just staring out the window, and my friend wondered if that child had also just been on an educational trip and had asked their parents some incredibly difficult question. Eventually, we did get moving again, but it was a very long drive home. It made me realize how much we take smooth travel for granted until, something happens. It also made me wish the museum audio guide had been a little less monotonous because we had nothing to listen to for entertainment.
Thank you. Did you arrive late for anything because of the traffic? Thank you.
Thankfully,
Did
no.
you arrive
We
late for
didn't have any
anything because
specific
of the
plans that
traffic?
evening, so it was just a longer, more tiring journey than we expected. It was just a relief to finally get home.
And did you try using a navigation app to find a faster route?
We did, but the app basically confirmed that all the alternative routes were also blocked or much slower because of everyone trying to escape the jam. So we just decided to stay on the main highway and wait it out. Sometimes you just have to be patient, I suppose.
We've been talking about traffic jams. I'd now like to discuss one or two more general questions related to this. Do you think highways will help reduce traffic jams?
I think it's a temporary fix, frankly. Building bigger highways often just encourages more people to drive, so they end up just filling up again. I think focusing on better public transport or making other travel options more convenient is a more long term solution. It's like always trying to buy a bigger bookshelf when you buy more books. It doesn't really solve the problem in the end.
That's interesting. What are good ways to manage traffic then?
I'd say investing in smart traffic management systems, things like adaptive lights that respond to traffic flow or promoting carpooling, could help. Improving pedestrian and cycling infrastructure too, so people have good alternatives for shorter journeys, is another option. Perhaps even charging a fee to drive in very busy areas at peak times, like London does. There are definitely lots of strategies besides just widening roads.
Do you think developing public transport can solve traffic jam problems?
Yes, I definitely think so. If public transport is reliable, fast, and affordable, then more people will choose it, which reduces the number of cars on the road. It needs to be a better option than driving, really, for more people to make the switch, especially with higher petrol costs these days. Tokyo is a good example of how efficient trains can move millions of people daily, though I do wish the audio guides on the buses were more engaging.
Thank you. That is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
Thank you.